Hey, it's Rachel, and I wanted to respond to a post that was in our group from a mom whose son couldn't stop talking in the classroom, and he kept getting what was called these think sheets, which were supposed to help him by helping him think of things he could do differently in the future. But she said he kept getting in trouble for this talking, and I think he was also playing with the things that were around him. I think it was a guitar or something like that. And I had said that as a parenting specialist, I can understand why these think sheets are probably not working. There's something huge that most parents and even teachers, because I do a ton of teacher trainings, don't know when it comes to behavior like kids who are talking all the time or moving around all the time and distracting other kids. The thing that you need to know that motivates kids to talk in class or play with the things around them is that children's brains are wired for stimulation and novelty. So if a child, from their own perspective, is in a situation that is monotonous for their brain, or their brain is not engaged enough, or is not stimulated enough, they will seek that stimulation. It is a natural thing that children do. It's the same reason why you ask your child to get dressed in the morning, and it takes them so much longer than you think it should because, as I said, their brains are wired for novelty and stimulation. They will be drawn to anything that's more novel or more stimulating than getting dressed, which is basically everything. Same thing in the classroom. They're going to be drawn to anything that's more novel and more stimulating than probably what their teacher is talking about, which is talking to their friends or perhaps playing with something around them, or even moving their bodies. That's also a sign that their brains are underengaged or understimulated. So what do we do about this? The solution is definitely not to say, oh, well, you're understimulated, let's forget about it. Because as I teach as a parenting specialist, my area of expertise is in resilience and self-esteem. And I tell people all the time, yes, we have to teach our children to live in a world full of rules and boundaries if they want them to be resilient and have positive self-esteem. So of course we have to teach them to listen. But we also have to understand that they are wired for novelty and stimulation. So what we need to do if their brains are understimulated in the classroom is we need to find a way to engage their brains. And you do this by giving them either a physical or a cognitive task while they're paying attention. Not something that would distract them, but something that would engage their brain in the background while they're listening to what the teacher is saying. So I have lots of examples for you. First example, if a child is trying to pay attention and they can't, let them doodle. It's a common misconception that doodling means your child is tuning out. Often doodling actually lets them focus better. Or a lot of teachers will give their students a stability ball, those exercise balls, and have their child stay stable on that exercise ball. As long as it doesn't become too distracting, a child's attempts to stay stable actually help them focus more. Children walking around helps them focus more. Or even if that's too much of a distraction for others, if they have a fidget toy, something they can hold in their hands while they're paying attention, it helps them to focus more. So the key is we have to make sure our kids are engaged if we want them to sit still and focused. I'm going to give you another example. I have a 4-year-old daughter who simply cannot sit still. And at the dinner table, she would get up and move around and get out of her chair, every minute or so if we let her. But in our family, we have a rule that you sit at the dinner table. So if I had punished her, that wouldn't teach her to sit at the dinner table. What I do instead is I realize she needs physical or cognitive engagement, which is basically something she can do in her head. So there are a couple things that we do. First of all, we wrap rubber bands around the feet of her chair so that when she feels like she has to wiggle, she kicks the rubber band instead. And oh my gosh, hallelujah, instead of getting up, she kicks the rubber band and she's able to sit still at the table. Or we may give her a cognitive engagement, which is basically us playing games, playing dinner games. And what we would do is we would say something like, now eat 5 purple things off of your plate. The key is to give some sort of mental or physical engagement. If your child is struggling to get dressed in the morning, instead of just saying get dressed and letting them be distracted by everything in the room, say, hey, I'm going to leave. Do you think you can get your pants on with one hand behind your back? Something a little bit engaging for them. That's a physical engagement right there. Now with older children, you need to do the same thing, but they're not as excited by the silliness of some of the examples that I gave you. So for example, if you need an older child to clean their room, often they don't clean their room simply because it's a really boring, monotonous task. They get distracted by other things. So what you want to do maybe to make it more engaging is to set up laundry baskets around the room and have them throw things into the laundry baskets. That's more engaging, and still it tells our kids that they do still need to clean their room. Or if they have a list of vocabulary words that they have to study, that's going to be very monotonous for a child. What you need to do is, instead of just saying memorize them, which their brain is probably going to get distracted by other things, you would teach them how to memorize something in a more engaging way. So you might say, why don't you memorize these words, put them to the tune of your favorite song, and help them make them into lyrics of a song. That's more engaging for their brain, but it also shows them that you do need to study. When I was, before I did therapy and worked with parents, I was an academic coach. I did this with kids all the time. I helped them focus by giving them something else to do that wasn't too distracting. And it's amazing that not only did they study more with me, they studied more at home, and they were able to focus better at school. So these think sheets, these ways of coming up with either punishments, or they don't help kids deal with the fact that their brains are wired for novelty and stimulation. If you are asking your child to do something that they do over and over and over, think about how you can make it more engaging. Now, the good news is, this is the last thing I'm going to mention, the good news is a lot of parents will say, well, I don't want to have to come up with games all the time. However, your children will enjoy this enough that I can almost guarantee you they will start to do this themselves. Even my 4-year-old now comes up with games. She used to resist brushing her teeth. Now she'll say, hey, Mom, I'm going to brush my teeth like a rabbit, and I'm going to do it really quickly. And of course, I make sure that she does a good job, but she does it like a rabbit, and all of a sudden she wants to brush her teeth. You will not have to come up with these ideas forever. In fact, you do them a few times, your children will come up with them themselves, and they will be able to handle more monotonous tasks, including sitting still and not being distracted by the things around them in a classroom. So I hope this helps. If you want more tips like this, I actually have a free email that I send to parents every week. I'm going to post the link under this video so you can sign up for that and get more free tips like this. The videos that I send out in email are much shorter. They're usually only about 2 or 3 minutes. But go ahead and sign up for that, and you can get more of these tips to help you raise children who feel good about themselves. And obviously, you know, because of who I am, I tell you how to do it in a way that doesn't require you or your child to be perfect. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at rachel@rachel-bailey.com. I'll see you soon.